The traditional American sitcom came about in the 1950s when iconic programming such as I Love Lucy and The Honeymooners first hit airwaves. They laid the groundwork for what would quickly become a genre that tore up the ratings while simultaneously costing little to nothing to produce. All a sitcom needed was a handful of sets, a couple cameras, and a situation that was easily resolvable. It's a safe, reliable form of entertainment that gets a worse name than it deserves.
One of these days, Doris, I'm gonna take a shotgun and blam, blow your face off.
I mean, yeah,
that's funny.
It's weird because the situation really isn't funny.
I know, but the laughing tells me that it's funny.
They have timing, man.
But there's no denying the inherent limitations of the genre, especially when it comes to satirizing it. An obvious no-no that should go without saying when it comes to sitcoms is that you can't use them to normalize Nazism, even in the name of comedy. Such is the mistake that the now infamous Heil Honey, I'm Home made, and today I'm going to try to calmly and rationally dissect why it doesn't work.
Here comes the tickle monster.
Heil Honey, I'm Home falls into the comedic subgenre known as stealth parody, which TVTropes.org classifies as parodies that pretend to be serious works, no matter how absurd or mocking their contents are. Two great examples of stealth parody would be the mockumentaries This Is Spinal Tap and All You Need Is Cash. Despite having 8 episodes commissioned by the British Satellite Broadcasting Network, only the pilot has ever been aired. Writer Jeff Atkinson created the show as an outlet to poke fun at the tropes found in the traditional American sitcom. In fact, many of the jokes that this series had to offer were merely cliches or references to such classic programming. The only difference, and supposedly the punchline, was that these things were getting said by a genocidal maniac as opposed to a bumbling suburbanite.
Honey, I'm home!
The show makes the crippling mistake of thinking that its premise has enough range to build an entire series around. Unfortunately for them, though, it only had enough fuel for about 4 minutes of programming before its shtick ran dry. Parodying classic sitcoms through the addition of Adolf Hitler is a concept that's admittedly attention-grabbing, but it also lacks any sort of longevity. It's a one-note joke that would have worked incrementally better as a throwaway gag than an entire show. The decision to make it an actual series ultimately hurt it because the sheer ridiculousness of its existence is a constant challenge to our suspension of disbelief. The fact that the average human being understands how wildly inappropriate the show is immediately offsets our ability to buy into it. It made its job harder than it needed to be by being so long, failing to justify its length because of the glaring lack of material to work from, and also failing to be funny enough to justify its premise. A lot of the questionable energy that went into Heil Honey, I'm Home is completely misdirected. Atkinson's script placed too much emphasis on making fun of sitcoms and not enough on Nazis.
I'll show him around the town, we'll have a few beers, he'll forget about Czechoslovakia. He'll think, hey, this Adolf Hitler is a regular guy.
While what we got could possibly be considered parody or satire, there's no denying that it wasn't objectively good or particularly tasteful. It's half-skinned TV and history references, followed by canned laughter where the punchline is always, but it was Hitler. There's hardly any wit behind it, or effort even. It's just misguided edginess. For reference sake, let's look at a 45-second Robot Chicken sketch with a similar premise. Unlike Heil Honey, it doesn't make light of Hitler's crimes. Instead, the joke is about how historically accurate the bit is, even though each of the countries depicted within it are children.
Now, it's my problem.
Heil Honey, on the other hand, never tries to deliver such insight. The closest it even gets to depicting Hitler as the man he really was is a scene about 2 minutes in where he goes,
I'm a very, very bad Hitler.
Good humor is often absurd, but when dealing with absurdism, the more ridiculous your idea, the better your execution has to be. As you raise the stakes on your programming, your margin for failure raises as well. Without the right setup or foundation, your audience isn't going to be queued up to your joke, and even if they are, they might not find it particularly funny or appropriate. Simply put, don't give one of the most treacherous human beings in history a cute pet name if you aren't going to condemn him within that same half hour.
Hey, do you remember the names we used to call each other when we first started dating?
Oh, no. You were Mr. Sausage, and I was your hoochie-coochie girl.
Yeah.
There's a fine difference between recognizing a joke and actually liking it. I have no doubt that people got the sitcom meta-commentary that Heil Honey, I'm Home was offering, but I also recognize how unbearably unfunny the show is. Recognizing a poor job at parody doesn't automatically disqualify it from being tasteful. Having a punchline that provides some thought or insight does. Similarly, not every joke or bit in existence has to be clever or meticulously crafted, it just has to be executed well. It's also worth mentioning that Heil Honey, I'm Home is, unsurprisingly, a bit anti-Semitic.
Are you kidding? They always know. When I finally get to invade Poland, who'll be the first to know? The Poles? No! Rosa Goldenstein!
That's the other reason why the show failed harder than a two-front war. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I've been thinking about doing a series on my channel where I review and analyze failed TV pilots. If you'd like to see that or have any recommendations for potential episodes, let me know in the comments section. Feel free to follow me on social media or check out my live action channel, New Wave. And as always, have a great day.